dinner 3 nights in a row.
2.5 hours.
Days.
I'm
Tim O'Neill. How are you?
I think 6 hours.
No, I wouldn't complain about hours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, well, yeah.
We're ready.
Hi.
We're ready to.
I won't know. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Martin. I'm the chair of LAFCo Commission right at the moment, and I call this meeting to order on February 7th, 2024, special meeting of the LAFCO Agency Formation Commission at 2:30 p.m. We are meeting in the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors Chamber and on Zoom for the public. At this point, the clerk will explain how both written and spoken public comments can be made by attendees to the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For members of the public, the instructions on how to participate on today's agenda may be found on the published agenda. These instructions provide information on how to submit written comments and how to participate on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, item 1. Thank you very much. We will proceed with the roll call.
Commissioner Big Stick,
Present.
Commissioner Chen Corrali,
Present.
Commissioner Corzo,
Present.
Commissioner Barback,
Here.
Commissioner Slocum.
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Here.
Chair Martin.
Here.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Also joining us is, well, he was here a moment ago. Mr. Fox.
Well, yes, the staff is here, and Mr. Fox will be joining us in just a moment.
Staff being Rob Bartoli and Sophia Ricaldi. Okay, item number 2, public comment. We will now move on to public 2 and open public comment for items not on the agenda and consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will first call upon members on Zoom, followed by in-person speakers. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you're calling by phone to indicate your desire to speak. And staff did not receive written comments for items not on the agenda. And at this time, we have no virtual hands raised on Zoom. Thank you.
Please note that LAFCo meetings are a limited public forum and all public comment must relate to something that is within the jurisdiction of the board. If comments do not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction, we will stop the comment and move on to the next speaker. The county attorney will assist in identifying comments that are not related to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Oh, there you are. Okay. Item number 3, we will now, this is the consent calendar. And I believe we have an objection to something in the notes, in the meeting notes.
Thank you. So it's not an objection so much as just a correction that needs to be made. With regard to the item regarding the audit, in the minutes, it says that the audit, and this is on page 9 of the whole staff report, that the audit was the 3rd audit, but in the staff report from the last meeting on page 2, it says that this was the completed 4th outside audit by this same auditor. And I just want the minutes and the staff report to be consistent, just because I flagged this as an issue for looking at potentially a new audit, not a new auditing firm. So if we can just correct that to the minutes to reflect that it's the 4th, assuming it's the 4th audit, it's the 4th audit, right? Then if we can do that, then I'll make a motion to approve the action minutes of January 17th with the correction on page 9 to be from the 3rd audit to the 4th audit.
Are there any objections or comments from the commissioners? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank
Would you take the roll?
That was a motion by Commissioner Chen Corrali and a second by Commissioner Barback. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Barback,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, let's move on to number 4. The reconsideration of LAFCO file number 2209, City of East Palo Alto proposal to establish the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, an independent special district as a subsidiary district of the City of East Palo Alto. East Palo Alto Sanitary District alternative application to retain the district's governance model, amended sphere of influence to be coterminous with its geographic service boundaries and remove the district's territory from the sphere of influence of the West Bay Sanitary District. Staff has a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Martin. So the commission has received a staff report originally dated at the end of January, now a revised copy dated February 1 that corrected the November LAFCo meeting date in the report. The previous version of the report stated that the LAFCo meeting was November 17th in some locations. However, the LAFCo meeting was November 15th. So there was a revised version of that report that has been circulated to the commission and to interested members of the public. So on November 15th, 2023, the LAFCo Commission approved by resolution LAFCO file 22-09 to establish the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, EPASD, an independent special district as a subsidiary district of the City of East Palo Alto and related actions, including adopting a resolution approving the subsidiary district proposal with terms and conditions, adopting findings and determinations pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, and declining to approve the alternative application submitted by EPASD. Government Code Section 56895 states when LAFCO adopts a resolution making determinations, any person or affected agency may file a written request to LAFCO requesting amendments to or reconsideration of the resolution. The section goes on to state that the request shall state the specific modifications to the resolution being requested and shall state what new or different facts that could have not been presented previously are claimed to warrant the reconsideration. So on December 15th, 2023, LAFCO did receive a letter via email dated December 15th from Ms. Somaniska, attorney with Burke Williams and Sorston. Burke Williams and Sorston LLP is currently serving as a special legal counsel to EPASD. Ms. Somaniska's letter is attachment B in the item of the staff report. Requests that in light of recent actions taken by EPASD's board of directors, the commission should reverse the action taken on November 15th by denying the city's proposal, by approving the district's alternative proposal filed with LAFCO, filed on September 19th, 2023, which proposes to retain EPASD's current governance structure, amend the district sphere of influence to be coterminous with service boundaries, and to remove EPASD's territory from the sphere of influence of the West Bay Sanitary District. These 4 actions in the letter were stated that the EPASD's district has taken 4 actions on December 14th, 2023, and that those actions at that meeting warrants the commission's reconsideration of this item. So as I had mentioned, the December 15th letter proposes that the 4 actions that EPASD has taken since the adoption of the LAFCO resolution warrants these reconsideration. And so we'll go over those 4 items within LAFCO's responses to those actions. The first item, first action that was highlighted in the letter is related to EPASD's recently adopted capital improvement plan, or CIP. On December 14th, 2023, the district board of directors adopted a capital improvement plan prepared by CORS consultants. Per the district, the CIP is based on a thorough evaluation of expansion related improvements needed to accommodate new development and repairs needed in responsive to the natural deterioration of the local pipeline. The CIP included priority list of repairs in the near and long-term planning horizons and a calculation of service needs to meet the relevant cash flow projections. In review of this and for each action stated, the LAFCo analyzed this action and presented in a response in the staff report that we'll discuss here. For this item, LAFCO staff notes that the CIP document was adopted by EPASD on December 14th and was not provided as part of the written request for reconsideration for EPASD. However, staff obtained a copy of the December 14th EPASD meeting packet, which included a proposed CIP, and that's listed as attachment C of the LAFCO staff report. The CIP prepared by EPASD largely consists of data that has already been collected by the Sierra West consultants for two CCTV survey reports, one published in 2022 and another one published in 2023. These two reports were reviewed by the commission at the November 15th LAFCo meeting as part of the district's alternative application that was submitted. The CIP references a financial plan, the 2022 sewer rate analysis working draft tables, which was produced by Bartle and Wells Associates for the implementation of the proposed projects. This was also reviewed by the commission on November 15th as part of the district's alternative application. The Bartle and Wells report proposes annual sewer rate increases for customers from 2023 to 2027 with an average of 6% rate increases a year. These proposed rates do not appear to have been adopted by EPASD. It also appears that the Bartle and Wells report's incomplete as it only references projects from the 2022 Sierra West report and not from the 2023 Sierra West report, which is also included as part of the CIP. In the 2022 report, Sierra West consultants identified over $20 million of high priority projects of near-term rehabilitation and replacement projects for the total of $53 million for rehab and replacement. As noted in the report, 65% of the lines inspected were classified by the consultant as pipelines with structural deficits, and these included, as described in the memo, as having instances of broken or sagging pipes or areas where pipes are severely clogged. No additional information about the status of this action has been provided to LAFCo. EPASD item number 2. For on December 14th, EPASD's board authorized the general manager of EPASD to undertake a process to lower capacity fees from $14,464 per equivalent dwelling unit or EDU to the amount between $9,000 and $10,000 per EDU as determined by a consultant based on the adopted CIP. This action also authorized the district general manager to propose a process for refunding developers that previously paid higher fees. In review of the EPASD agenda packet for the December 14th meeting, the staff report item only consisted of the agenda topic heading regarding the direction to lower capacity fees and the recommendation to EPASD's board to approve the item. Neither the staff report nor the meeting minutes, as shown as attachment D to the LAFCo staff report, include any information about why this change in capacity fee was requested, how EPASD determined that $9,000 to $10,000 per EDU would be an appropriate fee, or how the reduction in capacity charges would impact the district's budget. In the alternative application submitted by EPASD and reviewed by the commission on November 15th, the district had stated that the $14,464 capacity charge is, in their view, the most equitable charge for new development projects and is a fair and reasonable fee. There has been no other additional information that's been provided to LAFCO related to this item. Item number 3, or action number 3, was that on December 14th, 2023, the district board of directors authorized the general manager to undertake Article 13, Section 6, Proposition 218, process to increase sewer rates commencing July 1, 2024, from $600 per single dwelling unit residence to the rate recommended by the district's consultant. For this item, LAFCO staff notes that EPASD's agenda packet again only provided the item consisted of the agenda topic heading regarding direction to initiate this process, and neither the staff report or meeting minutes include information about why this change in sewer fee was being requested or the timeline for future action. The 2022 sewer rate analysis working tables produced by Bartle and Wells as mentioned previously, was an analysis that was conducted previously in 2022 and presented to the commission as part of the EPASD's alternative application and was reviewed by the commission, the LAFCo Commission, on November 15th, 2023. No additional information about the status of this action has been provided to LAFCo. The last action that EPASD states warrants reconsideration is that on December 14th, 2023, the District Board of Directors authorized the District Special Counsel to draft an ordinance setting forth a process for negotiating and approving will-serve letters and development agreements, including consequences if the requirements of the ordinance is not met. In review of the EPASD agenda packet for December 14th, the staff report for this item consisted again only of the agenda topic heading regarding direction to initiate drafting of this ordinance and recommendation of EPASD to approve the item. The December 14th meeting minutes stated this action was in response to an issue identified at the LAFCo hearing surrounding the uncertainty regarding the process by which district negotiations occur for will-serve letter agreements. No additional information has been provided to LAFCo regarding this action. If the commission disapproves the request for commission options for potential actions, it shall not adopt a new resolution making determinations for the original proposal. No further reconsideration of the November 15th decision would be authorized under the Government Code, section 56895, and there is attached resolution for disapproval of this request for reconsideration. The commission can also approve the request for reconsideration. The commission may approve the request for reconsideration if the commission believes that the request for reconsideration meets the statutory requirements and presents new or different facts that could not have been presented previously to the commission. If the commission decides to approve the request for reconsideration and rescind its November 15th, 2023 decision, the commission would need to adopt a new resolution rescinding the LAFCo resolution number 1312 that approved the establishment of the subsidiary district of EPASD and making certain findings and determinations. And adopt a resolution that would amend the district's sphere of influence to be coterminous with service boundaries and remove EPASD's service area, West Bay service area from EPASD's SOI. The commission also has the option to continue this item to March 2024 if the commission needs more information. There were two other comments that I'd like to just briefly touch on that were in the reconsideration request. Ms. Somaniska's letter included a comment about the transmittal of the adopted resolution for LAFCo file 22-9. While the signed copy of the resolution was sent to affected agencies on November 22nd, the resolution was adopted by the commission on November 15th, 2023 at the LAFCo meeting. Also, there was a comment about EPASD's alternative application and its review. The reconsideration letter makes a statement about the district's alternative application that was submitted to LAFCo and then considered by the LAFCo Commission. LAFCO staff reviewed the SOI application against similar criteria required for the subsidiary district proposal, and also presented the application to the LAFCO Commission for consideration at the same hearing as a subsidiary district proposal in alignment with the appropriate government code sections. This includes a review of documentation submitted by EPASD, including CCTV report, draft financial documents, capacity and sewer rates, and the district's master plan. Since the publication of the this meeting packet for today, LAFCO has received several comments. On February 4th, LAFCO received a letter from Jeff Page, the president of the Redwood Shore Business District, in opposition of the request for reconsideration and in support of the city's proposal. On February 5th, LAFCO received an email from Sergio Ramirez, the general manager of the West Bay Sanitary District, stating that 2 sewer spills in EPASD service area have occurred in the last 2 months. He stated that West Bay Sanitary's board has concerns about why these spills have not been reported to the state. On February 6th, EPASD provided additional documents to LAFCO that include correspondence related to public records requests and Brown Act concerns between the city and EPASD. and letters between LAFCo and EPASD regarding the reconsideration and protest proceedings process. Along with items for the 2019 EPASD sewer rate increase and an agenda packet from the most recent EPASD board on February 1st. There was also documentation that's been submitted by the city today, including a proposed comments on a ratepayer letter to be sent out by EPASD and a report regarding a sewer overflow in EPASD's service area. So for all of these documents, they are available on the website. On LAFCo's website, the EPASD documents and the city of East Palo Alto's comments are available for the commission's review as hard copies, and there's also hard copies available to the public. In staff's review of the EPASD documents that were provided, there was no narrative for these items or description of how they support the request for reconsideration that is before the commission today. Oop. Got zoomed in for some reason. A public notice was mailed and emailed to affected agencies and interested parties 21 days prior to this hearing. Public notice was also published as a 1/8 ad required by in the San Mateo County Times, the Almanac, the Palo Alto Daily Post 21 days ahead of today's hearing. The city's proposal that was approved by the LAFCo Commission on November 15th, 2023 included application materials, plan for service, capital improvement plan, and a proposed budget for EPASD's operations and maintenance and capital improvements. The LAFCO Commission determined that the city proposed budget and improvement plan would best serve the needs of the community while protecting the health and safety of residents and ratepayers. The city's proposal to establish EPASD as a subsidiary district aligns with the state's policy preferences regarding single multi-purpose governance agencies, especially for urbanized areas. And the establishment of EPASD as a subsidiary district of the city of East Palo Alto also aligns with the preferred governance options outlined in the adopted 2009 and 2022 municipal service reviews adopted by LAFCo. Thank you, Chair, for that momentary pause. Let me get back to my slide here, and then I'll continue my presentation. So LAFCo staff recommends that the commission disapprove the request, the district's request for reconsideration for the following reasons. Based on the information submitted in the district's letter requesting reconsideration, LAFCO staff does not believe that the district has provided new or different facts that could not have been presented previously and that warrants reconsideration pursuant to Government Code Section 56895. The capital improvement document is largely comprised of data and documents that were presented to the LAFCO Commission at the November 15th hearing as part of EPASD's alternative application. The letter from Ms. Somaniska states that these recent changes crystallize the district's position as the agent that can best provide sewer service to local ratepayers. But there are several factors that led the commission to approve the city's proposal, including consistency with past LAFCO actions, a plan for service from the city for future growth, and state policy preferences regarding the provision of municipal services within city boundaries. 3 of the 4 actions taken by EPASD's board on December 14th only authorized staff to begin work on increasing sewer rates, lowering connection fees, and drafting an ordinance setting forth a process for negotiating and approving will serve letters. Lastly, staff does not believe that the agency's own actions subsequent to LAFCO's decision can constitute new or different facts that could have been previously presented to the commission. These 4 actions taken by EPASD's board on December 14th, 2023 seem to be in reaction to the LAFCO's commission's determinations at the November 15th hearing. The district could have initiated these actions prior to November 15th if they desired so to. If the commission does disapprove the request for reconsideration, then a protest proceedings will occur. LAFCO will give notice for protest to all landowners and registered voters via 1/8 newspaper ad. There's thresholds for landowner protests and registered voter protests that are shown here. If there's certain thresholds, it would go to an election or the proposal could be terminated. Also, just to note that LAFCO staff had previously set a protest hearing for February 16th, 2024, prior to the submittal of the request for reconsideration from EPASD, and that upon receiving the request for reconsideration, LAFCO sent a notice canceling that hearing. It is anticipated that a new notice setting the protest period and protest hearing date, if that is the direction given today, would be published the following week, next week. The recommended action to the commission. Go to the next slide, please. Yep. Is to open the public hearing and accept public comments, and then by resolution, disapprove the request for reconsideration for LAFCO file number 22-09, proposal to establish EPASD as a subsidiary district of the city of East Palo Alto, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you, Rob. That was very thorough summary. Do any of the commissioners have any questions of staff? Or staff have any questions for?
I would just like one point to note as well is that there are representations from both the district and the city here, and so they'll all just be able to present. I'll leave that to the commission about how long the time should be for the presentations, but there is representation from both of them too.
I wanted to make sure if there were any questions. Nothing. Commissioner Rob?
Rob, thanks for the report. We received a letter from West Bay Sanitary District about some of the leaks that have not been reported. Have you received anything from East Palo Alto Sanitary District reporting these leaks?
I have only seen the correspondence that West Bay Sanitary District has provided to us, and as part of that, there was a screenshot, I guess, of the state state board where you report these types of things, and on that screenshot there wasn't any information about that. But LAFCO staff has not followed up to see whether or not there has been any new reporting. I guess since earlier this week of when that picture of the website has been taken. So I am not aware of any reporting has occurred.
But you haven't received anything from East Palo Alto Sanitary District reporting that they've spotted these?
LAFCo staff is not.
Okay,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. And now we're going to hear from the city of East Palo Alto and from the sanitation district to present their positions. They will each have an agreed upon length of time that we'll discuss in a moment. And we'll then have an opportunity to respond to questions from the commission. Afterwards, we'll open the public comment. The only variable here is how long we're going to allow each of the city and of the sanitary district to talk. It's been suggested 5 to 7 minutes. If that is agreeable with the entire commission, we'll proceed.
I wouldn't even go with 10 minutes.
I would agree. No more.
Warren?
I like 5.
Yep.
Maybe we split the difference.
What I'm used to on the city level is a total of 10 minutes, up to 7 for whatever spiel, and then 3 for rebuttal afterward.
Agreeable here? All right. Okay, East Palo Alto Sanitary District will present first.
And Chair, that's 10 minutes. Up to.
Up to
I need to set a
the
timer.
format that
10 minutes.
Commissioner Big Stick. 7 minutes to present and then
My suggestion.
3
would
for
be to set
rebuttal.
The timer for 10 minutes and allow the presenters to decide how to allocate.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Counsel.
It's on. My suggestion is to set it at 10 minutes and allow the presenters to decide whether they reserve any time for rebuttal.
Okay. I'm okay with that. If everybody appears. Okay, East Palo Alto Sanitary.
Yes, and the district does have a presentation. So I will share my screen for that, and then your timer is going to be on my laptop.
Great. Thank you. Joan Cox, Burke Williams and Sorensen, Counsel for East Palo Alto Sanitary District. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. It's nice to see you again, and thank you for hearing our motion for reconsideration. This is the statute that was already quoted to you by staff regarding the standard for reconsideration. The Government Code, Section 56001 states that whether governmental services are proposed to be provided by a single purpose agency, several agencies, or a multi-purpose agency, responsibility should be given to the agency or agencies that can best provide government services. As we mentioned to you on November 15, we will repeat today. It's our belief that the district is the best agency to provide services here, particularly in light of the new and different facts that have occurred since the hearing. So at the hearing, the city and developers expressed certain concerns regarding the absence of a final capital improvement plan, the distribution of cost of expansion between ratepayers and developers, as well as an apparent lack of consistency in working with developers. Since the November 15 LAFCo hearing, the district has adopted a new and final capital improvement plan. The district has adopted new rates effective July 1 and new capacity charges. And the district has adopted an ordinance regarding consistent and transparent development approvals. I'm having trouble with that. Okay. The district has worked toward an equitable solution to funding development since at least 2019. As we mentioned on November 15, this process takes time. Key studies and projects were still underway around the time of the LAFCo hearing. We announced to you then that we were entering into a contract for the preparation of a capital improvement program. That contract was executed and we received the program in December. The district consultant then immediately began working on implementing findings into a comprehensive CIP. The CIP includes detailed, weighed financial projections for both operations and maintenance and expansion needs. The district had previously deferred raising service rates due to its overall financial stability and budget boosts provided by increased savings. But the board took seriously LAFCO's concern regarding rates staying static despite consultant recommendations. Following a review of the district's finances, the new CIP, and anticipating a potential change in the capacity charge fee, the district raised service rates from $600 to $660 based on a previously approved rate study. That action took place on February 1, effective July 1, 2024. Previously, the district's capacity charge was $14,464. That was based on the cost of pipe replacement needed exclusively for development, as well as for both development and operations and maintenance. In its initial analysis for the latter category, the district consultant had recommended a 70%, 30% split between the cost attributable to development and O&M, respectively. Following receipt of the capital improvement plan, as well as the latest CCTV findings, the consultant updated the existing 70%, 30% assumption to the opposite, to a 30%, 70% option, with the ratepayers now taking on the greater portion of the cost of mixed purpose pipeline replacement work due to the condition of existing pipes. The new capacity charge of $10,621 per EDU was calculated as a result and was duly approved by the board on February 1, 2024. The district was also receptive to LAFCO's comments regarding achieving greater consistency and transparency in the development approvals process. Therefore, on February 1, 2024, the district adopted an ordinance regarding the will serve and development agreement negotiation and approval process. The ordinance achieves transparency on how approvals may be obtained and consistency in the application of district policies. The district responded to each of LAFCO's concerns with concrete action and planning, crystallizing its place as the best agency to provide services. The LAFCO staff report reports to other factors, including consistency with prior LAFCO actions, plan for service from the city, future growth, and the state policy preference for provision of municipal services within city boundaries. We've addressed these issues in the past. We are concerned that the city's proposal will strip Menlo Park residents of their ability to engage in leadership. We believe one seat on an advisory committee is not adequate representation, and that the district's current form of governance ensures fair representation. You've seen this slide at your November 15 hearing. We believe that the district is the better, more natural fit and better able to provide services. And I did want to take a moment to address a couple of things raised during staff's presentation. Regarding the SSOs. So at your November 15 presentation, you heard from West Bay that there had been 4 unreported SSOs. We sent a Public Records Act request to find out what those were because we were unaware of them. We did not see West Bay's correspondence until this morning, or we would have responded to you sooner. West Bay's correspondence this morning speaks of 3 spills, one in April of 2021. That's the only spill they now report that occurred prior to your November 15 hearing, even though at your November 15 hearing, they told you there had been 4. There have been 2 spills since your November 15 hearing, according to West Bay. One was on December 4, 2023. That spill was reported to the state. I don't know why the state records don't yet reflect it, but that report was made to the state. The other was last week, January 19, 2024, a spill at 395 East O'Keefe Street. I only saw this correspondence this morning, so the district is investigating that spill to find out the details. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation and save the remaining time for rebuttal. Thank you.
I don't know what the protocol is here, Tim. Whether or not we should have questions from the commission now or after the presentation from. the
I would
city.
recommend that you have the city give its presentation and then you can ask questions of whomever you wish to direct the questions to.
Thank you. So the representative from the city of East Palo.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hope you stayed safe through the floods. My name is Antonio Lopez. I'm pleased to be the mayor for East Palo Alto this year. But of course, this work did not begin with me. I'm here joined by some of my colleagues in the council, city manager, and city attorney will be teed up. Warren, per your suggestion, I'll keep this under 5 minutes, so I'm under the gun. So first, I wish to thank the LAFCo Commission for this renewed opportunity to reaffirm the city's commitment first and foremost to provide the best levels of service for the residents of East Palo Alto. And you may recall my colleague, the Honorable Lisa Gaucher, articulated in the November 15th meeting, the city has a comprehensive plan based on the information we have to improve the sanitary district for existing user, as well as managing any and all necessary system expansions while ensuring everyone, resident and developer alike, pays their fair share. I also wish to reiterate to the commission and wider public that the city's desire to become a subsidiary, the city's desire for EPSD to become a subsidiary is not irregular, but rather the standard practice of cities upon incorporation to subsume those special districts that pertain to governance. Now, why we're here? We are here because the primary school years ago had plans to create a new state-of-the-art campus on Week Street. But due to the district's $6 million price tag for connection fees for a school, mind you, they had to lease an older facility from the school district. We're here because the Light Tree expansion, 185 units of 100% affordable housing almost did not happen. Why? Because of the district's delay in issuing a service guarantee, making a $20 million funding package hang in the balance. We're here because of 965 Week Street project, also known as Colibri Commons, 136 units of mixed-use housing, likewise, to painful negotiations, which almost jeopardized the project. We are here because multiple land use decisions, ones that the city has made with extensive community input, have either been stalled or canceled due to the EPSD decision to not provide adequate sewer service for existing and planned residences and businesses. Now, as public servants, I'm all for the due diligence in this process, and we respect the district's right for a request for reconsideration. But I submit to this commission that the actions by EPSD since the November 15th meeting have remained unclear. The reconsideration request they've proposed says the district has adopted a CIP, but that financial plan does not appear to account for costs associated with the capital needs of the existing system identified in the 2022 and 2023 consultant reports. Moreover, there is an estimated $20 million in near-term high priority projects for existing system with growth. And in the long term, the existing system needs approximately $53 million in repairs. And yet, despite their own consultants' reports showing this steep need for investment, the leadership claims they only need to increase rates to accommodate new development. So today we ask, which one is it? I submit to the commission to ask the district how they plan to reduce connection fees while increasing rates when over 90% of the system is in needing to repair. Adding on to this confusion, the board president took to social media, writing, quote, "The EPASD board of directors is being pressured to raise SSC's sewer system charges and lower connection fees just so that the existing ratepayers can subsidize billionaire developers," end quote. Pointing out his position as board president, Mr. Schertzer goes on to accuse the city of going after EPASD's money, despite the fact that should your commission agree to the city's request, EPASD's funds would by law be strictly limited to sanitary district expenditures. What is Light Tree a billionaire developer? Was the primary school a billionaire developer? How about job training? Our community deserves better. Finally, I wish to remind this commission just how far East Palo Alto has come. All my life, no one wanted to do business in East Palo Alto. I grew up having to walk 45 minutes with my mom and sister to the nearest supermarket in Palo Alto. For years, the largest source of sales tax revenue was the McDonald's in our community. And we as kids yearn for an East Palo Alto that is dynamic, that is thriving, with storefronts and waterfronts and amenities that bolster us a sense of pride. And in our path for self-determination, we faced obstacles. First, it was the notoriety as the so-called quote unquote murder capital of the nation. Then it was the water moratorium years ago. And the inability to manage our own sewage system is that last obstacle. Now give us the authority and the ability to provide a sanitation system of the 21st century, one that is efficient, that plans ahead, that fairly and transparently conducts its business. Now, in 2020 the year that the city ushered in with 0 homicides, we asked the commission to give us this East Palo Alto of tomorrow today. And before I want to also pass it on to our city attorney, John Lay, to add further to the presentation.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. I have 5 points to raise. The first point I want to raise is whether reconsideration is required. It's the city's position that it's not, and it's because the district waited until the very last day to file a request for reconsideration and didn't timely pay the fee at that time. But I also raise this not just to preserve the issue, but also to simply emphasize that this commission has been more than fair to the district. You've in fact gone above and beyond and provided more process than is due. My second point I want to make is that we support San Mateo LAFCO staff's recommendation. And in particular, I want to emphasize what the district is supposed to do on reconsideration. They're supposed to present to you new or different facts that couldn't have been presented earlier that would merit reconsideration. They haven't done that. The ordinance in question, for example, that they presented, they recently adopted that. And if you ask them why they weren't able to present it earlier, they would probably say, well, because we hadn't adopted it yet. But you need to dig deeper and say, well, why didn't you adopt it? What they should have done is actually done this years ago. And had they done that, we wouldn't be in this situation. I agree with San Mateo LAFCO staff's interpretation of what it means to present or could have been what they could have presented earlier. If the commission doesn't support this interpretation, you create this weird situation where the district can actually engage in gamesmanship, where they don't put all their cards on the table and instead wait for an adverse ruling, which happened on November 15th, and then finally come and make changes. It's too little too late. My third point is that on the slide that you just saw, and I've heard this numerous times from district council, this idea that they are the best agency to provide these services. Now, first off, that isn't a correct statement of law, and that's because your staff has already analyzed this under the 15 factors. That is the legal standard. What they've articulated is a policy statement contained in Cortese Knox. But when you read the entirety of it, what's clear is that preference must be given, quote, to best accommodate to the agency that is best able to accommodate and provide necessary governmental services and housing. Now, the district doesn't provide housing. That's up to the city council. But they have for years now exercised what is effectively a pocket veto, frustrating the council's efforts to provide for their residents in terms of housing. And we're hoping that ends today. My third point is I want to correct the record. It's been said numerous times on the hearing on November 15th on social media, and actually in a mailer that was mailed to all ratepayers, which we believe is not legally permissible, that the city, if given control, would raise rates to $1,200. Simply is not true. On their presentation just now that you saw, they said they raised rates recently from $600 to $660. That's an increase of 10%. You might remember that our proposal is actually to increase it to 5% per year. Moreover, the city can't simply raise the rates. We need to have a Prop 218 process for that. We need to provide notice and an opportunity for the public to be heard. So even if the city gets what it wants, it's not magically going to happen, this rate increase. There will be a hearing. The final point I want to make is a question that was raised by Commissioner Chang Karali. And it involves the January 19th spill. If you look on the state's website, it's not going to be there. And we were actually curious as to why. It looks like I'm almost time, but I do want to finish this because it's an important point. So what we did was we actually called the state, and the state provided us with an explanation. We actually reported it to the district, and they didn't report it to the state until 16 days later. They're required to do it within 15 days. And the reason is it was a Category 1 spill. A Category 1 spill is a spill that can either reach surface water or it makes its way into the drain. They reported it as a Category 1, one of the most serious. When we asked the state why it's not on the system, they told us that A, it was reported late. And the second is they cannot certify that report until they have a complete report from the district. I raise this because one of the things that the district has argued is that they are capably maintained, and they cite that they have not had a spill within 16 years. This is a huge spill. And I have right here, and I'm going to provide this to you, it's actually in the record, it was provided to your staff. Our public works employees sort of assessment on that day. They were the first responders. And what you'll see is images of feces, toilet paper strewn everywhere, and what appears to be some sort of crude efforts to treat what was there. And with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Want to thank both the city of East Palo Alto and the sanitary district for their comments. With regard to the question that was just asked, we did at the beginning say that we would have some level of rebuttal, and I see that that's what you are moving over to do. Right.
I actually reserved time. I did not use my full 10 minutes. They went over a minute, so my client was asking if we could go over a minute as well in our response to
If
their
necessary, we want to be fair.
5. Thank you. Give me just a moment and I'll get started. Okay. I just wanted to address the points raised by the city attorney regarding the fee being timely paid. LAFCo's website does not list a fee for reconsideration. It only lists a fee for annexation. And so we reached out to LAFCo to inquire about a fee. And as soon as we found out that there was a fee for reconsideration, we paid that fee. Okay. In terms of, should have taken action years ago, I think, many things could have been done better, but your decision point is today. Based on existing facts today, who is the best agency qualified to manage the affairs of the district? Regarding the statement that the city would raise rates to $1,200, we have gone back and forth with the city over this. The district did prepare informational FAQs for use in response to media inquiries. We did have a factual basis for asserting the $1,200 rate. That was based on the rate study in the city's materials. And indeed, in the draft letter that we finally aligned would be acceptable, we did show that the rates would go up to close to $1,200 in the next 10 to 12 years. And so from the district's perspective, we have not been inaccurate. In terms of the district's raising of rates. We adopted a rate study pursuant to a Prop 218 process in 2019. That rate study is still effective, and so the action that the district took on February 1 has already been authorized under Prop 218. And that rate study empowered the district to raise rates up to 720. The district is taking a step process and raised rates incrementally to 660 effective July 1, 2024. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to let the district, could you pause for a second? I'd like the district general manager to address the SSO.
Very, very briefly, sir.
Good evening, Honorable Commissioner. With regards to the SSO, the information provided by the city is inaccurate. These SSOs that occurred in January was reported because I spoke directly with the regional board. And at that time, they told me they have a glitch with their software. I have an email that confirms that. And they told me once the software is fixed, we can go in there and report it. I have email evidence of all this. So the notion that the spills were not reported is not true. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Again, thank you for your presentations. Commissioners, do you have any questions that you would like to present first? Of either the city or the sewer district? Afterwards. I have one question. You were referring to a $720 increase over what period of time?
The 2019 rate study anticipated a 5-year period of time, but through which rates would be raised first to 600 and ultimately to 720. But the way that the rate study was laid out, it said, you know, on or after July 1, 2021 would be the 660, on or after July 1, 2022, et cetera, et cetera. And as I explained earlier in my presentation, the district leadership chose not to implement those rate increases that had previously been approved because it had the financial resources to manage its operations and maintenance. It learned new information by virtue of the October 2023 CCTV analysis. And after that, it chose to immediately commence addressing the operations and maintenance required.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? Comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did receive 3 speaker slips from people wishing to speak in chambers. So I will first call on Gail Wilkerson, followed by Dennis Scherzer.
Hello, how are you today? I'm just a regular old citizen, number 1, East Palo Alto, 2.5 square miles. That's all we are. Okay, I've been there 68 years. I know I don't look, but I have, and I've been satisfied with the service. And I've grown up there, like I said, and I've had businesses, real estate broker, tax preparer. I went back to school because I found out I need a law degree. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in paralegal studies. And you see something crooked around the corner, under every rock. And I'm looking at this and I'm hearing these because I live there. And you see these people coming in, wanting to change things. Change is good, but the way they're doing it, it's not the right way. We incorporated because we wanted to be independent. I was too young then. They wouldn't even listen to me. They'd go away, little girl. But now I can speak, and I want to say that the sanitary district, I've investigated, I've looked at it, I don't back people up when they're wrong. They're doing a great job. Now, the sewage spill, I just happen to live on the west side. And we were told that somebody tampered with that and it was brown and the fire department said, don't use the water, let it run for an hour. It was also an incident where manhole cover, those cables and pipes thrown in there. People don't flush those down toilets. Okay, now, I'm saying all to say, are you familiar with racketeering? You got the city of East Palo Alto, who's always broke looking for $1. And you got the developers who don't want to pay anything. And what's the third people? With the developers, city, okay. The citizens that are moving in, gentrifiers, who want things their way. Legacy people, I'm one of them. They're trying to run moth. They want the fees to be raised. So they can, for one of them said on Facebook, if you can't afford to live in East Palo Alto, why don't you just move? It's rude. And these are the things that are happening all the time. There's
Ma'am.
nothing wrong with the sanitary department. They're doing a great job. And stop listening to those rumors that came out
Okay,
20 and 30 years ago.
thank you.
Those people don't exist anymore.
Thank you. And if
Alright.
anybody else wishes to speak in chambers, please submit your speaker slips now for item number 4. We will now call on Dennis Scherzer, followed by Luisa Buada.
2 minutes, sir.
Greetings, Dennis Scherzer, President of East Palo Alto Sanitary District. Reconsideration has to include stuff that hasn't been considered. Last night at City Council, there was a lot of pertinent information about housing impacts and the city's plan to increase fees well beyond what we would is going to impact those people. Currently, people pay $50 a month for our service, $600 a year. And the proposed rate increase is $5. As for the light tree tree's problem came from the light tree, the consultant, the CEQA consultant, who put together a CEQA checklist and indicated there'd be no significant impact to our system. Did that without consulting us. And that carried on for a year before anyone actually came and met with the district. And we found out, we plotted on the existing system, the flow pattern would require about $3 million worth of upgrade. I saw a way to divert the flow into another portion of the system and save $1.7 million. Mayor didn't make note of that, did he? Also, what I see lacking is a comprehensive plan from the city of how they're going to use our money. If they prevail, they inherit the district, they're going to get over $20 million of our money. What are they going to do with it? And what have you done to look and see what are they going to do with it? Where's that money going to go? Supervisor Slocum, you represent us. We're most of the people in the city and all the tenants, and we're not getting that type of consideration that we deserve. Not here and not in this process. And in terms of the overflows, if you see it, report it to us. 24/7, we're on station to react to these overflows. And if it happened and we didn't report it, that means that somebody didn't report it to us. So you need to think again. You represent us. What's going to happen to that money?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We will now call on Luisa Buada, followed by Ruben Abrica.
Good afternoon, honorable commissioners. My name is Luisa Buada. I'm the former CEO of Ravenswood Family Health Network in East Palo Alto and currently the Director of Capital Projects for the Health Center. I'm here to ask commissioners to oppose the reconsideration and to confirm and uphold the decision of the LAFCo Commission to decertify the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, passing the responsibility over to the duly elected City Council of East Palo Alto. The sanitary district is a past relic of the unincorporated East Palo Alto. A 2.5 square mile city does not need two heads at odds with each other, determining the city's future. The city of East Palo Alto is now 40 years old with a responsible city council capable of planning for and managing its growth and development. The sanitary district should have been focusing on a plan to update the over 90-year clay pipe infrastructure, 44% of which is leaking effluent into the ground and groundwater, with tidal water entering the pipes at high tide, diminishing the system's capacity. Instead, they have purposely halted growth and development, had no equitable process for determining their rate or a master plan for funding and updating their ancient deteriorating system. In 2018, the Sobrato organization was willing to build a nonprofit center on Pocas Avenue to provide free leases to nonprofit agencies serving the residents of East Palo Alto, including our health center. The sanitary district charged the project $6.6 million to connect sewer lines a half a block to get a will serve letter. That made the project infeasible, and it was moved instead to Palo Alto, losing this opportunity entirely. The fact that the district today is asking for reconsideration is because their back is up against the wall. They have not shown good faith for the past 6 years. Please uphold the commission's decision and do not reject the tentative proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will call on the last speaker in chambers, and that is Ruben Abrica.
Thank you, commissioners. It turns out that 42 years, I spent a lot of time in these chambers along with our colleagues from the East Palo Alto Citizens Committee on Incorporation. And one thing that has been consistent is the work and the recommendation of LAFCo that is consistent with really state practices that municipal services, when they're consolidated, it's a better way to address the needs of the community. That's how I feel now as we did 42 years ago. We became a city 40 years, but it took us 2-3 years of hearings and campaigning and education, including ourselves, to learn how government works and how the city could serve its residents best. You can guess that I am opposed to the reconsideration. I think that, there's an issue that came up about people in Menlo Park who are going to lose representation. I'm all in support of giving them their representation. And if they want to be part of West Bay Sanitary District, that's fine. But, it's been 3 or 4 times that LAFCo has recommended the same thing that was recommended previously. I think now the city is in a strong position to provide those services. Our audits every single year demonstrate that we are financially solvent, that our staff is competent, and that we can do the job. I'm not saying that the sanitary district cannot do the job, but the proof is that they haven't done their job. Year after year, for many years, we try to work with them together, and they just refuse to sit at the table to solve this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we will now move to speakers on Zoom, and I will first call on Adrian, followed by Mark Dinnan. Adrian, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Adrian Bryant, a legacy resident and ratepayer in the city of East Palo Alto. And I'm going to ask Chair Martin to please give me an additional maybe 15-20 seconds, as this also includes a Public Records Act request that is related to this agendized matter. I want to thank the city, sanitation district, and LAFCo for all of the reports that you have promulgated over the years. It's really helped me to inform myself about my decision and my next steps. So to help me in that regard, and I'm going to ask that you defer to your legal counsel, because I may not be correct, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not required to fill out any form, to send you a separate email or call you. I'm going to make my Public Records Act request right here on the public record. My contact information should be captured in this meeting. The email address I've logged in with, I know that Zoom will capture that. So the time frame that I'm going to ask is the last 10 years. I'm assuming you're busy like other governmental agencies, and you have not purged your records. So I expect to see some records responsive to my request. Specifically, I'd like to see all staff reports and agendas or anyone, a developer, private citizen, or other entity who have paid for a municipal service review. And in my opinion, it's kind of like they're jumping the line of all the other MSRs you're charged with implementing from time to time. And I'm going to ask that you please expedite my request, as again, it will help inform me, as well as community members, on our option to send letters and protests of this proposed annexation. Again, time is of the essence. I'll circle back to you a little bit later, in case I don't get anything responsive to my request in those 10 days. And I want to restate that this information will help me determine my next steps. And you guys have given me so much information that I really enjoy. The last thing I wanted to say, regarding the sanitation district, I've been following them and I've been seeing that they have been working with the developers and individuals to provide them will-serve letters even prior to this information contained in this reconsideration documents. Last thing I want to say is, I know you're not going to consider this reconsideration, but I want you to know that me and many other community members, we are somewhat not liking this annexation, as it is an infringement of our ability to exercise our political autonomy and self-determination, something that the city was founded on back in '83. So thank you very much for listening to me. Have a good day.
Thank you. I will now call on Mark Dinan. Sorry.
Hi, good afternoon, LAFCo commissioners. My name is Mark Dinan, and I'm a resident of East Palo Alto, and I'm a current customer of the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. I also serve on the Public Works and Transportation Commission, and I'm the chair of the Public Works and Transportation Commission this year. But I am speaking on myself, I'm not speaking for the Public Works and Transportation Commission. I'm here to express my support for the consolidation of the East Palo Alto Sanitary District into the city of East Palo Alto. I first became aware of the issues of the EPA SD when the planned construction of the primary school was halted in 2020 due to a multi-million-dollar overcharge by the EPA SD. This project was literally in my backyard and was a new building to serve low-income students in EPA and other regional cities. Every day, in this vacant lot, we're reminded that the EPA SD has canceled projects. We see the results with a flooded street on Week Street, where the primary school was supposed to be. The primary school construction was supposed to reconstruct and put in sidewalks and storm drains and all their street improvements. And now we have an empty lot. We have a flooded street and blight instead of a new school. After the primary school, I've subsequently heard of unjustifiable charges applied by the sanitary district for affordable housing projects, new office space, and nonprofit center. These have all been mentioned. The charges that the sanitary district has tried to extract from these projects are unjustifiable and are little more than shakedowns on projects that need the sanitary district sign off to build anything. The people of East Palo Alto deserve fair and equal service from all of our local utilities. With that in mind, I strongly believe that absorbing sanitation system services into the city of EPA is the best way forward, and the city of EPA is more than up to the challenge to provide these sanitary district services. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Madam Chair, we have no virtual public comment for item number 4.
Yeah.
A few hands just came up.
Okay.
So if anybody does wish to speak on Zoom, please raise your hand now. And I will now call on Christopher Cow, followed by Carlos.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Christopher Cow. I am also on our East Palo Alto Public Works and Transportation Commission, and I've been a resident in East Palo Alto for a few years. I am in support of the city integrating the sanitary district. I think one of the things that's important to me is actually transparency. Last year and the year before, the sanitary district was working on a number of improvements along O'Connor Street in East Palo Alto between Pulgas Avenue and the San Francisco Bay Trail. And as a resident, I found it very frustrating trying to find information on what the project was. I went on the website for sanitary district and I couldn't find anything. I sent an email to the sanitary district and did not hear back. And I was just very surprised by this experience because I'm really good at finding a lot of information. I've read a lot of specific plans and documents that the city has put out on all different types of projects, such as the current University Avenue overcrossing. So for me, that's actually a pretty big point, is just transparency on projects. I do want to, of course, note that the sanitary district has put up some physical papers on the Bay Trail, so they do some amount of transparency with projects. But for me, that would be a big improvement if the city were to integrate, since the city has shown a good track record of being very transparent on what projects are being done, where and when. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will now call on Carlos, and that is the last virtual hand raised on Zoom. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Clerk and Madam Chair and members of the LAFCo Commission. I am Carlos Romero. I'm a member of the City Council, but speaking right now as a public member, certainly in support of all of the comments made by Councilmember Abrica, as well as Mayor Antonio Lopez. I do want to point out that what this is doing, and I've been before you probably 3 other times, is we are, as Councilmember Abrica has said, essentially correcting the historical record here and ultimately bringing into, not dismembering, but bringing into East Palo Alto a service, public service that should have been in East Palo Alto since 1983 when we incorporated. We're not giving this service or dismembering East Palo Alto and creating a fractured city. On the contrary, we are providing better government through this process because of the integration of services and the communication and coordination between departments. Lastly, what I will say is the city, with its city manager and the council, are moving forward as we have with within the last 5 years, $10 million in needed water infrastructure improvements. And we will do the same with the sanitary district. The council at its last priority strategy discussion last weekend prioritized the discussion and eventual placing on the ballot of an infrastructure bond that will address many of the issues and the improvements that we did in East Palo Alto. We have the will, the ability, and the track record to move this entity forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And with that, Madam Chair, we have no further comments for item number 4.
Thank you. We will now close the public comment for item number 4 and begin commission discussion. We'll start with Warren.
I don't really have anything productive to add, but I'm ready to make the motion when you're ready.
Thank you. Jenny?
Well, so thank you to all those who came and spoke today. I just had, everyone knows that I had a heartache over the representation piece last time when we met in November. And it was interesting that one of the public members spoke about the West Bay Sanitary District and the representation that could, be helpful there, because I had actually noted that before public comment happened. But I do want to know, Rob or Sophia, how can we, because we're not dissolving a special district per se, it would still be a subsidiary special district, but with just different governance. But the proposal is to have West Bay Sanitary District contract with them. They do have an elected body, right? So have you heard from anyone about the possible collaboration and between the city council and the West Bay Sanitary District in terms of their expertise and experience, which I think that the city lacks in terms of sanitation systems. That doesn't mean that they can't learn it, but I mean, if they're going to contract out, I think that, you know, it's important to be able to collaborate with them and to know that there is representation as an elected body.
Maybe that question should be aimed at the city.
Yeah.
It probably is best answered by the city regarding
Okay.
their conversations between West Bay. I know they have had a process to then hire a consultant. They have selected West Bay, but the city staff might have a better understanding about current communications with them.
Thanks. I just didn't want to be out of turn.
Appears we have a representative who has an answer
Yeah,
to
the
your
city
question.
manager.
Good afternoon. I'm Melvin Gaines, East Palo Alto City Manager. Thank you for the question, Commissioner Chang Karali. I would just respond that foremost that the professional staff who are serving the board, similar to West Bay professional staff serving the West Bay board, myself, my public works director, and our team are advising the governing body, in this case, the city council as the governing body of the sanitary district. So the expertise would be expected to come from the staff recommendation. However, on matters of governance, you at the last meeting were wondering how we represent Menlo Park residents who are part of the sanitary district. And we would continue to push for representation on an advisory board, as well as to have opportunities for Menlo Park residents to be heard. I'd elaborate actually on this issue of representation and say that part of that is information. The expectation that the city of East Palo Alto communicate to any customers who live in Menlo Park, sharing information on projects to improve the system, sharing information on rates, sharing information on the city's vision and how that impacts the sanitary sewer system. Those are the things the city is committed to doing through our operations. And I think that that is the better service that empowers the customers a little bit more.
Commissioner Big Stick, you had a question before? Any
I had a
comments?
question, but if we're at comments at this point, I'm happy to just go ahead with comments. Again, I am a storyteller, so it's going to take me a minute to get my comment out. Because I'm looking at this as the city guy up here on the dais, or one of the two city guys. And I don't know about Half Moon Bay. I know in Pacifica, our wastewater division is a part of Public Works. So I have some idea of what it looks like to work with sanitary division and allocating funds and digging into the books, etc. In Pacifica, there's also the water district, which is as close to a comparison as I can draw between what's going on between the city and sanitary district in this instance. Once upon a time, Pacifica had the opportunity to consolidate. They voted not to. Since then, we haven't been overly collaborative, but we've been plenty collaborative enough. Recently, there was a contentious moment. We hashed it out. We grew stronger and more collaborative as a result. I'm happy to say our relationship is stronger and we work better together. Coming into this, I feel like that's not the experience I'm picking up on. And a part of what is bugging me is there needs to be collaboration for this to work. It needs to be a partnership. Even if it's not subsumed by the city, it still needs to be a partnership. And what the vibe I'm getting is that even if we were to reconsider, it would be a hard sell to make this a partnership from where y'all are standing. And that's if that were the better way to go, which I haven't been convinced of. The two questions in my mind, are the pipes being taken care of? And the second question is coordination with development properly taken place? It's sticking in my craw. And the one question I was going to ask, which I don't feel like I need to follow up on, there's 20 million in reserves, but it seems like what I'm reading is that the pipes are not being taken care of. And I'm referencing at least 4 different boards where we grapple over, okay, how much excess money is enough? What's our reserve policy? What's the upward limit before we need to start spending the money because we're not a bank? We're supposed to be doing a thing. So I'm not convinced that the pipes are being taken care of. And on the other hand, I know how important it is for a city that if they actually approve a development, it gets done. The sewer is hooked up. It's the most basic human. So for these reasons, and I kind of wanted to tie it up because I made a lot of comments last time and I didn't tie it up at the end. So thank you for the time. And anyway, I think under the auspices of the state's policy preference of a single multi-purpose government agency, urbanized, in this case, it makes a lot of sense for it to be a subsidy of the city.
Harvey?
I clearly believe that the best entity to run the sanitary services in East Palo Alto is the city of East Palo Alto. And I agree with Carlos that 40 years ago, the mistake was made to take away that power. I think we need to give it back. I think the arguments for reconsideration that LAFCo has enumerated are clear, that the all four arguments are not persuasive. So I'm clearly in favor of denying the reconsideration. Thank you.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I oppose the reconsideration. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Neill?
I have nothing to add at this time.
I agree with everything that has been said here, and I'm a special district person. I believe in special districts. I think they have a place in our society. But in this particular case, I have to agree with the comments that my colleagues have made, and I also oppose the reconsideration. Sure, go ahead.
So as a special district representative, I also am a firm believer in special district, just like Chair Martin. My issue is that when you're asking for a reconsideration, that something substantive is brought to be reconsidered. And I didn't get that. And so I think that is part of the problem I'm having with the governance piece of this, which is, runs in many, many different ways. So I am not convinced that the governance is going to change and that things are being done in a reactionary way versus a proactionary way, because this is not a new issue. I mean, this has been going on for years and years. So my issue has been governance, and that's why I was asking about West Bay Sanitary District's involvement, because they are also an elected body and they've done really great work. But anyway, so I'm in agreement with you, Chair Martin, about the importance of special districts, but with the governance piece still not in a satisfactory condition for me, it's hard to approve the reconsideration, and it's not as if there haven't been opportunities. And to what Commissioner Rohrbach said about, the city should take over this function. I mean, I can understand that, but at the same time, the special district, East Palo Alto Sanitary District, has been in existence for a long time. And as I said, this is still going to be a subsidiary special district. So it's just going to have a different governing body, but I'm hoping that the focus of the contracted work with West Bay Sanitary District will continue to kind of provide that focus that a special district provides for essential services. Thanks.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to deny the request for reconsideration.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Thank you. That was a motion by.
May I ask that you clarify that also is a motion to approve the draft resolution submitted as part of the agenda packet as the basis for the denial?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Counselor.
I accept that.
Okay, that was a motion by Commissioner Slocum and a second by Commissioner Rohrbach. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Corzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay. Moving on to item 5, with regard to a study session on future municipal service review work plan. Staff? Sophie?
Yes. Thank you. So as,
Can't hear you, Sophie.
sorry, let me pull this forward. So as a refresher, municipal service reports or reviews, or MSRs, are state mandated studies conducted by LAFCo that analyze the fiscal health and governance structures of cities and special districts and evaluate the adequacy and efficiency of services provided by agencies. The determinations and recommendations in an MSR are non-binding, but the commission or other entity could take later action to initiate certain changes based on the findings of the report. A municipal service review is required in order to establish or update a sphere of influence, or SOI, which is the plan for probable future boundaries of a local agency or service area, whether the services be provided by a city or a special district. The Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act also states that LAFCO shall, as necessary, review and update the SOIs every 5 years. At the end of this upcoming fiscal year, San Mateo LAFCO will have completed at least one MSR and SOI for every city and special district in the county. We're currently working through the MSRs for San Bruno and Millbrae, and next up will be Foster City. So now that we are approaching the end of all the cities and special districts, staff is proposing to create and adopt a multi-year MSR schedule to ensure that LAFCO can evaluate the availability and adequacy of services delivered by agencies in an organized manner, and also allocate resources as needed for consultants, or allocate staff time to make sure that we are staffed correctly. So the current process is that the commission adopts the work plan on an annual basis that includes a list of MSRs that are proposed to be completed in the upcoming year. A multi-year plan could allow, once again, for better resource planning and allocation, and also give subject agencies and the public a better understanding of when MSRs will occur. So staff conducted some research of what other LAFCOs are doing as relates to establishing a multi-year work plan. We researched 10 LAFCOs, and it would appear that some of them don't have a process, a formal process for how they conduct their MSRs, but there were several that do. So the Santa Clara, Alameda, and Contra Costa each have a multi-year schedule that focuses on city and service types. So for instance, looking at Alameda, in FY20, they focused solely on fire protection and emergency medical services. The following year, they did community services in their resource conservation district. Whereas Orange and San Diego, they focus kind of on a regional approach. So they spent Orange County spent FY23-24 focused on specific regions within their county, and also the Orange County Water District. So staff put together a couple options which are in your agenda packets for review, and we'll go through each of them. some considerations to think about as we walk through these. Since 2005, so approximately 20 years, we've completed over 35 MSRs. That's about 2 per year. Some none were done, some many were done, but we on average, I think we're looking at about four a year at this for the past couple of years. Another thing to consider is whether or not this a specific approach is appropriate for our county, whether we want to focus on agencies, whether we want to focus on a regional approach, North County, Coast Side, South County, or whether none of these approaches really apply to us and we can maybe on an annual basis continue to do what we do and develop 1 to 2 year plans. Another consideration is staff time. They can be time consuming. There might be some areas or some topics that might benefit from a consultant. So figuring out how much time we want to staff time we want to dedicate to each MSR, what might be better served by a consultant. Another thing to consider is the length of the schedule. We proposed 5 to 6 year plans. Is that enough? Is it too much? Is it, yeah, just what the appropriate timing is. And then finally, we can put together and adopt a plan, a multi-year plan, but the commission will still be able to request MSRs or special studies out of sequence as needed or to address a commission concern. So option 1 kind of is a hybrid approach. It's probably closest to what we currently do, which, we kind of see what needs to be done, what might be topical, and we propose that for the next year or so. But in option 1, this is all just draft. This is just for brainstorming purposes. But for option 1 in fiscal year 24-25, we would focus on coastside water and sewer, but then we wouldn't focus on coastside cities until the following fiscal year. So we would separate those out. We would separate out South County cities, do them in 2 parts in fiscal year 26-27 and 27-28. And really it's just a hybrid of, focusing on regional and service-oriented MSRs. Option 2 is much more regional focused. So in the first fiscal year, we would do coastside water and sewer with RCD. We would focus on fire protection services as standalone countywide MSR, and same with the mosquito and vector control. And then for the following fiscal years, we would focus on South County cities, Central County cities, North County cities, and then wrap things up with the County Harbor and Broadmoor Police Protection District. Option 3 and 4 are more focused on kind of city and service oriented approach. Option 3 being kind of longer, option 4 being more expedited. Option 3 could feasibly done with fewer consultant resources, but if we really wanted to kind of get through all cities and special districts in a 5-year time period, it would definitely require some more consultant support. Is there anything you would add to things to consider here?
So, our past approach at San Mateo LAFCo has really been varied. We have done studies of a regional basis, like the North County study. We have done, prior to those types of studies, we have done individual agencies on a needed basis, because a lot of times some of our agencies are not like for like. So like the Resource Conservation District, that unless we have like a miscellaneous district MSR, that kind of has to stand alone. Same thing with like the Harbor District, another one where we don't have another like district. In other categories, we have done cities, and then at that same time we've done the city, we've done the underlying special districts, whether they be independent ones or county. And so we have had this mix of them, and we've had it kind of on an annual basis. So we have, tried to, in some cases, I think we started maybe at South County and worked our way north, but then in between we have very much jumped around to agencies as we've seen. So, kind of thinking about how we can best allocate staff resources over the next couple years, about how we want to have the MSR the commission would like to see be prioritized, I think would be helpful. And if there's not a singular approach from the commission, we can certainly do that. And again, this is really, we're looking for high level feedback at this time. We would work with the budget subcommittee probably in February or in early March before we brought it back to this body as part of our annual work plan at March, when we adopt the draft budget, to really hash out some of these details. But we're really looking for any kind of, yes, this is a direction we would like to see. This is absolutely something we don't want to do, something we need more consideration on. That's kind of the feedback that we're looking for right here. Or again, it can be that's an interesting idea. Can you explain this more? And can we have that discussion? So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I want to thank Sophia for putting this report together and presenting it, because it's certainly a helpful tool in discussion, because to understand what the commission's priorities are and how we can lay them out over the next couple of years and plan for that.
Okay, I need some education. In the enabling legislation, is there a set way of doing or conducting a municipal service review?
In a municipal service review, there are set factors that have to be reviewed.
But
about how a commission goes about conducting that, again, multi-agency, single agency, regional, there is not. And there's not even really a time frame. There is a statement in CKH that says as a 5-year as needed basis for when we're reviewing SOIs, really. It's not even municipal service reviews. It's the sphere of influence that has to be reviewed every 5 years as needed. The municipal service review informs the sphere of influence, but it's not necessarily meaning that LAFCOs do MSRs for agencies every 5 years. Some do, some certainly do not. So it is an approach, again, kind of by the commission and what their viewpoint is.
where I'm going with this is that literally the reason I know what LAFCO is because the mosquito district had a fraud. Okay. And the major portion of the work that I have seen is catch up. Something has happened and now you have to do an MSR so that you can, go through the whole process. I would like to see us approach the MSR, whatever we define that is, from a little bit different position, so that we don't get caught with the kinds of things that we've been dealing with the last couple of years, EPA and Broadmoor. Is there some facility for like a mini MSR, a questionnaire from a genius like you that would flag for us whether or not a district was headed down the wrong path or city was headed down the wrong path? Do you see where I'm going with
I
this?
do. And, the special study that we did for Broadmoor, that is something certainly you could do again, where it's kind of a tailored approach in certain areas. A true MSR has to have, again, several factors. For the special study for Broadmoor, we did not include all those factors.
Right.
If the commission wants to adopt a full MSR, we would need to have all of that data. But for the most, probably over the last 4 or 5 years, those MSRs were for agencies that we have not previously had MSRs for. And prior agencies, we have done MSRs in some cases in multiple times for those agencies. So I think maybe a quasi second round, let's say, of municipal service reviews may be able to build off a lot of the data that we do have, kind of a baseline. And then we could better update those sections as needed, especially for the older MSRs that we may have about new data. And we've been trying to figure out, we have a different format kind of now that we have our MSRs, so they're more regular in how we approach them with kind of checklist boxes for that you've seen, and kind of the other MSRs about whether they're meeting this requirement or not. And then we have our kind of questionnaires that we do the staff to get the data. So we have tried to streamline our process too. And hopefully that would assist us going forward with any kind of additional.
Reviewing it in my mind just now, I realized that it's special districts that seem to get into trouble. Because I think that this and maybe the grand jury are the only entities that really look at those quasi-government type situations. Cities, pretty quick when you're in trouble. If the lights go out or something, you know what I'm saying, I hope. But it occurred to me that maybe some instrument that we could create that would tell us, at least for special districts, when they're getting into trouble.
That's certainly something we could think about and think about how we could kind of show that almost like a quasi dashboard or something along those lines.
It's kind of what I think.
And so we could explore something like that in a work plan about how we could, if that's something that we could pursue and how we could do that. Something certainly that we could work with the budget committee to figure out how we could prioritize that item.
I would say also that past grand jury reports might be a place to look to see whether or not there are problems in any of the cities, or the work that they do is pretty good.
So I would like to offer a suggestion, because at the end of the day, and you've outlined this really well, is that it's going to be a matter of resource allocation, money wise and staff time. And I appreciate that the budget committee, is going to be involved with this. So I would actually suggest that we take this into the budget committee and figure out, based on, what y'all have suggested and what resources we have available, to come up with a work plan. I mean, I understand that the MSR has its regulatory guidance and criteria, but the work plan is something that we can work on and then bring it back with recommendations from the budget committee and different options, just, for time expedience for today too. But yeah, I think it's going to require a lengthier discussion than what we have in terms of time today.
Rob?
Commissioner O'Neill?
Sort of taking off from some of Katie's comments, Commissioner Martin. I perhaps think that the hybrid way of going about things that we're doing may be appropriate, and that's why it exists. I would think that because this is a relatively small county compared to Los Angeles County, for example, we would be sort of problem oriented, and that we're really looking at two things: multi-year plan, and then what kind of, should it be service oriented or should it be regional oriented, or what we're doing now. I think what we're doing now is probably an appropriate way for a small county. Los Angeles County perhaps couldn't do that. And I would keep the multi-year short, 2 or 3 years rather than 4 or 5 years for that reason. I think small counties can pursue specific problems a little easier than large counties. So those are my comments.
I'm looking at the proposal that was in our staff report. I'm a little confused about the whether the MSRs are going to be consultant-led or not. So for example, option 2 has co-side consultant-led, option 3, co-side cities, there's no asterisk. I'm not sure that's relevant. I just wanted to know what you think about the difference between consultant-led and in staff. Is it going to be a big difference in cost, in resources? How should we go about thinking about the difference between those two?
So the options that were provided in the staff report were just draft. They were just brainstorms. And so just because there was an asterisk next to coast-side sewer and water does not mean that the path we will go down. But I think there was some some thinking about, given staff time, expertise, what could be done in a given year by staff versus a consultant. And so the way it was laid out was just kind of for illustrative purposes, but not really because that's the path we're going to go down.
And Commissioner Rohrbach, when we have done the last consultants municipal service review we did was the East Palo Alto Sanitary District in West Bay and City of East Palo Alto. And that was in 2019. And that was a prioritized one where it was not on the schedule. We had a consultant come in and do that work. And that cost was a little bit over $100,000. So that would be something that, again, multi-jurisdictional, that was a very technical and in-depth MSR at some very specific questions. I don't know, that would be a ballpark number, but certainly we can ask some other LAFCos about, what is a cost for their going rate for consultants. 'Cause some LAFCos only do consultant MSRs. They don't do them in-house. We typically have done them with LAFCO staff, but that's something that we can, again, bring back maybe to the budget committee about a rough cost of what those consultant MSRs are. Certainly one thing that is different is in the consulted one, again, you have that level of expertise that might be there, might have additional staff and be able to move that forward in a quicker manner than if it was a staff-led. If it's not staff-led, you potentially lose a little bit of local knowledge. You kind of lose a little bit of the format and flow of how that may happen from a LAFCO staffing perspective, and there's the additional cost to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Madam Chair, can I ask a couple things? When is the next meeting of the Budget Committee and who's on the Budget Committee?
The Budget Committee meeting has not yet been set. It will be set probably at the end of February. Commissioner Draper is on that committee, along, I believe, with Commissioner Bitstick and Commissioner Chiancarelli. And so, yes, we will be having a meeting. They have a much more in-depth discussion about this topic.
Well, you're in
at that
good
date.
hands with that Budget Committee.
Yes.
Can you go back a slide there? Please. I'm just curious why the Broadmoor Police Protection District is on these charts.
Still a special district.
And why so soon?
Yeah.
Or is it ongoing?
Yeah, I mean, what?
It is still
it's
a special district, so we put it.
Yeah, I know
on-
it's a
yeah.
special district, for God's sakes, but what is the next step in that? Refresh my memory again now.
So the table that you see here is just for illustrative purposes. The Broadmoor Police Protection District MSR that was given direction to LAFCO staff to undertake is ongoing. It will certainly be on the schedule before 29-30 fiscal years. We anticipate we will have a draft of that municipal service review at the March LAFCO meeting
2024.
of 2024.
Very good.
That is our hope as of right now. If that might change, but that is staff's plan.
Thank you. And then just one last thing, Madam Chair. I sound like Virginia, when you meet with the Budget Committee, I'm sure that you will let staff preferences be known on approach and timing and all the sort of details to it. And then through that, I think that conversation out will come, I think, a pretty solid product.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally support that approach.
Thank you.
Chair. Just a couple questions. Did you say that on average we're doing 4 MSRs per year?
In the last couple of years, that's the average, but I wouldn't say that that's the average for the whole 20-year period. Last couple of years.
In some cases, we did no MSRs. In some cases, we did a handful. Other years we did 4 or 5, but over the last 4 or 5 years, we've done 4 or 5 MSRs. And
So
some of those have been multi-agency.
There's nothing magical about 4. It's not.
It truly is the time of the process and then the staff time to be able to put those reports together. Because for a typical MSR process, I would say it's anywhere between 3 to 5 months because we bring it to 2 commission hearings. One is a draft document, one is a final document with a workshop in between. And then we have the data analysis that has to go back, all that in front of it. So it can be up to 4 to 5 months easy.
What I was thinking is if there's 42 cities, districts combined, if we average 4, that would be 10.5 years. And so I look at this and I think is 6 years a long enough timeline to really put together a timeline. My other point of consideration is that to me, it would seem if it's been a long time since there has been an MSR, maybe that factors into a more pressing need. And so while I kind of want to point to one of the options and one of the approaches and say, yes, just do that, it occurs to me, well, if it's been 2005 since the Coastside Fire Protection District has been looked at, according to this list, I don't know, then maybe they need to take priority regardless of how we're setting it out, simply because it's been so long. So I just wanted to throw that in.
No, there is a recommendation to direct staff to have a budget committee meeting and then bring it back to the commission in March.
And if I may through the chair, you may want to ask if there's any public comments on the item before taking that motion.
I'm sorry, Rob, I didn't.
If there's any public comments on the item for members of the public.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anyone on Zoom.
Are there any comments from the public
Thank you,
on this
Madam Chair.
issue?
Yes, we do have one virtual hand raised from Adrian. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's Adrian Bryant from the city of East Palo Alto. I'm glad I walked back in the room when I hadn't logged out from the previous agendized item. I'd like for you to possibly investigate or do maybe a special study on allowing outside entities to pay for municipal service reviews. Please consider how that affects communities like mine, the city of East Palo Alto. No one pays for something unless they're getting some monetary value out of it. And sometimes these things disenfranchise the voters from one thing I didn't get a chance to mention because I was running out of time is we have 3 sanitation district members up for re-election this year. So I would love to give my community the opportunity to vote in who we want and vote out who we don't. I know one of the commissioners mentioned about the governance concerns she had. I do too. So I just ask that you consider, maybe even create a policy about how you allow for paid municipal service reviews, keeping in mind, like you have on this list, a bunch of things you have prioritized and how those entities get pushed back when you allow somebody to pay to play. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, we have no more virtual hands raised for item 5.
As such, we will close the public comment period for this item. Item number 6.
We could have them, we'll pull up the slide again with the motion for the municipal service, this for direction. I would,
Yeah, we need a motion.
I would like a
Okay.
if the commission could make a motion for direction.
Okay, so
Right.
yeah, because I suggested that I'll move to have the budget committee work with the LAFCo staff with obviously the input from the public and the commission to figure out the work plan based on resources that the staff have outlined.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you for that motion.
Thank you. That was a motion by
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Chen Corrali and a second by Commissioner Barback. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Barback,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Now we'll do item 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So LAFCo received an engagement letter from O'Connor and Company for auditing services, once again, for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. The letter proposes a fee of $9,800, which would be payable in fiscal years 23-24 and fiscal years 24-25. So we just need a motion to execute the engagement letter.
I'll move. I'd like to discuss something after it's been moved and seconded.
Thank you. Discussion?
Okay, so thanks for doing all of this. Just a quick question, because this is going to be their fifth report, right? So we're going to be looking at potentially either another audit firm or maybe another team within this firm. So is this, just for my own edification, has another team been involved with our previous audits of the four, or has it been the same team? Or
It has changed teams.
Okay.
And so that's something we'll confirm though with
Okay.
O'Connor about
Okay.
the next steps if we go with them for future
Okay.
audits.
Thanks.
And again, I would just recommend to the chair if you could open public comments if there are any for this item.
Okay.
Question.
Question?
When we had I think the first audit 4 years ago, the target price was 7,000. So now it's close to 10. It seems a little steep. Any comments on that, Rob?
The last 3 audits that we've had from O'Connor have actually been at this price. So we have been fortunate to kind of have a locked in price since then. But yes, you are correct that the first audit was about $7,000.
Okay.
And then I think once they realized that there was some additional work as part of our scope, that
Yeah.
price has increased.
Yes, these audits are estimates. They're not fixed price commitments. And so thank you for answering that.
Okay. Now that we've had questions, I'll open the public comment period for comments and questions from the public.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no virtual hands raised on Zoom and no one in chamber wishing to speak.
As such, I will close the public comment period. Okay, item number 7, I think, is an information item.
Yes.
Oh,
there was a-
yeah,
there was a
that would be
motion and a
good.
Second.
Sorry.
So that was a motion by Commissioner Chincarelli and a second by Commissioner Warbeck. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chincarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Warbeck, Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Aye.
Chair Martin.
Aye,
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
thank you. Now, item 7. Legislative report.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the legislative report. LAFCo is currently tracking 12 bills. There is no new legislation, but there was one substantial update to AB 805, which has been amended a couple of times. Currently, it's proposing to authorize the state board to require sewer service providers to contract with an administrator designated or approved by the state board to assist the sewer system if that sewer system serves a disadvantaged community and has demonstrated difficulty in providing adequate sewer service. Other than that, happy to answer any questions about legislation.
Do any of the commissioners have questions? As this is informational. Thank you. Item number 8.
Yes, just for again, information only for the commissioners. There is the LAFCo quarterly newsletter for January of 2024 that's attached to your packet. And in that, there's some outlines for future LAFCo retreats and when those dates are. But other than that, I don't have any other things to report out of that newsletter.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commissioners? About that item? Okay. I'm a little confused on this, on the procedure here. My script tells me that I should ask for the public, but this was. Is it,
We can ask for public comment on that. I don't- if-
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Rob. We have no virtual hands raised on Zoom wishing to speak for this item.
I was under the impression we didn't have to have public comment period for an informational item. I can consult with you, thank you. One district and one, run things differently. That's why I'm stumbling around today. All right, item number 9. We will now move to item number 9, staffing updates.
Yes, so I do have 2 staffing updates I'd like to share with the commission. First, sitting next to Angela Montez is the new LAFCo clerk, Diana Estepona, who started this week with the county of San Mateo. Her position is shared between the San Francisco Airport Roundtable and the San Mateo LAFCo, so she will be supporting the LAFCO Commission going forward in her new role. So we'd like to welcome her here today, and she'll be sitting in Angela's seat at the March meeting.
Welcome. You
And
have a
our
good teacher there.
Yeah.
And the second update that I have for the commission is that unfortunately, as we will hire a new person, we will also be losing a person. And that Sophia Recalde will be taking a position with another county department. So she'll be still around here, but unfortunately she will no longer be supporting LAFCO. And she's been here for over a year now. And I just wanted to thank her tremendously for all her work for this commission, for LAFCO staff, putting together numerous municipal service reviews, some very complex applications and documents that we've had to work on for the last couple of years. And so she'll be missed. She'll not be far. And it's been great to work with her. And I want to say thank you to her as well for her time.
Boo.
Sophia, where are you going? We're gonna miss you a lot.
Yeah.
You've been great. Thank you for everything
Thank
you've
you.
done.
I appreciate that. I'm going to BHRS.
Oh, great.
So-
Behavior health.
Just down the road, kind
Thank-
of. Yeah.
You'll be an asset to them.
And that concludes the report from staff.
Please.
So this Saturday's the start of the Lunar New Year, Year of the Dragon. And I want to wish everyone here a Happy New Year. It's the wood dragon.
Okay. Council, do I need to open the public comment period for this item as well?
No, I think
Okay. All right, item number 10. Thank you all for being here on this rainy Wednesday. And for my stumbling around, this is very different than what my experience is. Welcome, Diana. And the next meeting will be
March 20th.
March
20th.
20th. All righty. Thank you very much. Happy Super Bowl, everybody.
Oh, yeah, go 49ers. I'm so focused on